Konbanwa from Matsumoto, Japan. My name is Michael Levin, and I live and work here as an English teacher. I really enjoy living here, and I'm not sure if I'm going back in a year. I may stay longer or I may go back. It depends how the economy in America is doing, and more so, it also depends on um, how my own fluency level is doing in Japanese. I know numerous gaijin who live and work here, and they just get by. They don't know the language, they don't really try to know the language, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want to be the guy that spent 2 or 3 years here and I go back and say, yeah, 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 Japanese, yeah, I almost knew it. Like, that's just kind of, for me, that's embarrassing, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that said, like, yeah, I really focused. I didn't sit and watch American TV all day and attempt to homogenize myself with only European and American culture while I was here. When I was living in the midst of this amazing culture around me. For 16 months I've been mostly illiterate, and I think that has to change. I've been spending morning, noon, and night every waking moment learning kanji. I already know the two phonetic scripts, hiragana and katakana. And kanji's a bitch, I have to tell you. It's really difficult, but it's amazing to sit down and learn another language, because no matter how hard it is for anybody out there, I'm sure people that have finally reached the threshold where they're crossing over to somewhat lukewarm um, fluency, or they're in an area where they begin to recognize characters and they can decipher meaning. It's an amazing step. It's an amazing step to pick up a translation of a Disney's book and pick it up and say, like, oh, fuck yeah, I can read. You know, um, you're learning to read again, and it's really important to stay motivated and remember why you're doing it in the first place. The biggest factor that's been motivating me was just a simple set of math that I scribbled out for myself. You'll notice I'm shifting my eyes left and right because I wrote out the numbers so I wouldn't forget. This is not coming off the cuff of my head, and this is not an original thought by any means. I am not an original. Or maybe I am. Actually, everybody's kind of original in their own way. But I am not an original in this sense. This is not an original idea. Um, so to borrow from Rent, there's 525,600 minutes in a year. That's not my favorite musical by any means. However, that song's actually good. But 525,600 minutes is too much math for me to deal with, so I broke it down to 8,760 hours. Wait, 8,760 hours? That is a lot of time. That's every year. I mean, you get that every single year. 8,760 hours. So it doesn't seem like a big deal if you're like, yeah, considering how many hours there are, it's cool if I watch a rerun of Friends again, or it's cool if I watch uh, American Idol's fine. America's Most Wanted. Watch two of those in a row. Actually, no. Maybe it's not, unless you want to be the person that says when you're 80, yeah, I spent 2 years of my life watching America's Most Wanted. That doesn't seem possible, but actually it is. You'll find that because there's 8,760 hours in a year, every 24 years, if you just spend 1 hour a day doing whatever mundane task it is that you're doing, that's a full year you spent doing that. And the math continues. If you spend 2 hours a day doing whatever, watching America's Most Wanted, or America's Next Top Model, or America's Got Talent, or you spend 2 hours a day looking at a wall, then every 12 years you already spent 1 year doing that. And so on, like 3 hours a day, every 8 years you've wasted a year. 4 hours a day, you've wasted a year every 6 years. 6 hours a day, you've wasted a year every 4 years. and 8 hours a day. And that's I actually I was gonna say that's most of you, but actually with the economy as it is in America, I have no idea who has a 8 hour job and who doesn't. But for those of you that you spend 8 hours a day doing something you don't want to do, every 3 years, that's a full year of your life. Um, so that said, and I'm not a motivational speaker by any means, but just keep that math in mind. Even if you spend 30 minutes a day doing something for yourself, let's say you don't have the time to do an hour a day for yourself. You don't have the time a day to do 8 hours a day doing something you love. If you only spend 30 minutes a day, that's fine. Just know that in 48 years from now, you could only say that, yeah, I spent one of my 48 years doing something I enjoyed. I think it's important to keep in mind, like, um, at least from my perspective, we don't know what happens after this. And wow, this sounds so much dire than I wanted it to sound. But put your time into things that you want to put your time into. Um, it's very difficult to jump into passions and to jump into things that are amazing to you. It's very difficult to learn a foreign language, and it's very difficult to learn the guitar, and it's very difficult and full of tribulations and trials and errors and heartbreak and hardships and criticisms from your friends and family to pursue some of your dreams. But fuck that. Like, you don't have forever. At least not in this world. And in the next one, oh, there we go, getting dire again. uh, no preachiness. Let's wipe that clear. Um, do things you want to do. The reality is, if you just spend 1 hour a day doing something that you want to do, in 24 years you could finally say you spent a year doing it. If you're spending 8 hours a day doing a job you don't like, then every 3 years you've spent 1 year of your life doing so. Now, that's not to say that you can't have the power of motivational thinking. Um, Whereas to me, my opinion is spending 8 hours a day doing something you don't like. It's just kind of not something I that jives with me ever. There are those of you out there that are more positive in the respect that maybe you spent those 8 hours a day providing for your family, and if that's the case, um, then the means are definitely justifying the ends, and bravo to you for looking at it like that. However, as for me, I think it's important to remember that if I just spend 3 hours a day now learning this foreign languages, then in 4 years from now, I will have spent half a complete year, um, just doing that. That means not doing anything, not eating, not sleeping. If I just do 3 hours a day of studying kanji, and 4 years from now, that will means I spent half a year just becoming fluent. Well, half a year. I like the 1 year analogy better. Anyway, case in point, if you're learning kanji or you're learning a foreign language, put in the time. If you want to learn the guitar, take baby steps. Start with 30 minutes a day, jump into an hour a day. Eventually, fill all your free time doing something you like. Uh, Again, I'm not a motivational speaker, and if I sound preachy, it's too bad. I just I don't want anybody to waste their life, and I don't want anybody to make excuses not doing the things they love, because the reality is, even if you have 30 minutes a day to do something, you should do it. And if you have an hour to squeeze in instead of taking, an afternoon nap, take that hour. Uh, if you have an 8 hour day, it's fine to veg, but just don't veg every single weekend. Like, build yourself. Um, Man, maybe I came out like an asshole, but that's fine. The point is, there's no point.